We've reached the point now where we've seen enough C# to start doing some real stuff. And one of the more common real stuffs that you'll probably do when working with C# is moving information into and out of files. And the .NET Framework provides some really great utilities for working with files and information in files. And that's what we're going to cover in this section. We're going to start off with an introduction to streams and files. So let's start talking about that right off. When you want to move data into or out of a file or across the network or over the internet or some block of memory or some other location, the data has to be what's called streamed. And you can think of a stream as an analog to its real-world counterpart. Think of water moving between two bodies of water in the form of a stream or a river or whatever. In this case, however, the stream data is a bunch of ones and zeros that represent the information of a file, and the body of water is called the backing store. Now, the backing store can be anything. It can be a file. It can be some place on the network. It can be someplace out over the internet. It doesn't really matter what it is. The point is the backing store is where the information goes to or comes from. Streams have certain properties. They can be readable, they can be writable, or they can be both. Streams can also be what's called seekable. In other words, some kinds of streams have this notion where there's a position that you can look at and modify. Sometimes this is called a random access stream. Streams descend from the system.io.stream abstract base class. Now, we're not going to work too deeply with streams themselves in this section. We're going to stick to the higher level classes and utilities for working with files. But it's important to have an understanding of what they are. And it's useful to have this background so that later on when you want to go work a little bit more deeply with files, you'll understand what a stream is. So at the top, we have the stream class. And again, this is an abstract base class. And we looked at abstract base classes a little bit earlier in the course. If you haven't watched that section, you should go do that now. This is a class that forces you to create a subclass in order to provide an implementation. So the stream abstract base class provides a whole bunch of abstract or theoretical things that streams need to be able to do. And then the real stream classes you work with descend from streams, such as the file stream. This is a class for working with physical files on the disk. There's also the memory stream, which is locations located somewhere in the computer's memory. There's the network stream. This is used to move information across the network. So actually, let's take a quick look over at MSDN so you can see what the stream base class looks like. All right, so this is the stream class documentation here on msdn.microsoft.com, and you can see the URL up there in the browser if you want to go look at it for yourself. The stream class, let's just scroll through this. You can see that there's a constructor which makes a new stream, and there's some properties, things like can read and can seek, can timeout, can write, that kind of thing. And if we scroll down a little bit further, there are methods. Methods for reading and writing information, for copying information, so on and so forth. These are all the base level functionality features that a stream has to provide to its users. Now remember, this is an abstract base class, so you won't actually instantiate a stream class. What you'll use is one of the subclasses, and if we continue to scroll down, you'll see that underneath System.io stream, there's a whole bunch of other streams. There's buffered stream, there's file stream, there's memory stream. Here's the network stream I talked about earlier. These are the actual stream classes that you will use. But we're not going to cover that right now. What I'm going to do is talk about the file and directory higher level classes that we're going to use in this section. .NET provides a collection of useful classes for working with files and directories. So let's go over those right now. One is called the file class, and this provides a very simplified, high-level set of functions for working with files. In fact, this is mostly a static class where you call the methods of this class using the file dot notation. And if you haven't watched the section on classes, you should go do that to understand what a static class is. So file is probably the highest level example of working with files. The next one down is the file info class. This provides more detailed, lower-level functions that provide a little bit more control over working with files. Then there's the file stream class, which I briefly talked about just a few moments ago. This exposes a stream object around a file, which provides very detailed control over how information gets written to and read from the file. For directories, there's a directory class, and this is sort of the analog to the file class. It provides very simple, high-level functions for working with directories or folders. And then there's the directory info class, which provides some more detailed, lower-level functions that provide a bit more control over working with directories. So we're going to use some of these classes in the rest of this section to work with files and directories.